Welcome to West Coast Jazz. I'm your host, Von Norberg, a.k.a. the Jazz Man, with my lovely, wonderful, talented researcher, co-producer, co-host,
everything. Exactly.
Sherdile.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here today. So we are actually going to have a great show for you today. It's called Strings Attached. And, of course, that's guitars and all kinds of different genres of guitar, really.
Yes.
And genres of jazz. So it's going to be really exciting. And like I said about our show, it's exciting for the fact that we can bring new and younger people in to get acquainted with jazz, what's going on before, jazz when it kind of was the thing, and all the way up to now where people are still doing it.
Yep. We like to not only educate our audience, but also let them know who's carrying the music forward today.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And, I'm really excited about this show, so I hope people will stay tuned to it because you have a lot of common bands that people will recognize that may not recognize the fact that they are doing jazz songs. So it's great. It's really interesting.
Yeah, we have featured some artists that people never knew did jazz.
Exactly.
I was just talking to our producer, Chris Norberg, my son, the other day, and I said, well, who was that guy with the black hat, the heavy guitarist, his name was Slash.
Oh, yeah, right.
It still is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, years ago, and I think it was on KBEM, that they featured a jazz song that he did. So I went on and researched it. He did an entire LP of jazz.
Yeah, see, that I would never know.
Right.
Never, ever know. So, yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to play it sometime.
Well, and we also, on Women of Jazz, featured Edie Gourmet, who most people have crossed over into, it's more country western pop.
Sure.
And she did she did two LPs of jazz, and one was in Latin jazz.
Oh.
So she sang the entire LP in Spanish.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That was a lot of fun. But
yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
Those are the kind of educational things we like to bring to the forefront.
Sure, and as I always say to everybody, Vaughn here is literally a jazz aficionado, so I love that. Okay, so we are going to start the show out with Les Paul, and I know everybody pretty much knows Les Paul, but he was, not only did he do jazz, but he was known for his guitars. And his guitars go anywhere now from $10,000 to I think it's $400,000 for a Les Paul. A certain one of them that were released is $400,000. Okay. And he's like the only person that was not only in the Jazz Hall of Fame but the Inventors Hall of Fame. Because he was like an inventor of all kinds of, guitars and different musical instruments. So,
well, maybe we should find somebody that owns a Les Paul,
right,
and bring them in.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, exactly. So here we are. We are gonna hear Les Paul with his song "Can't Believe You're in Love with Me"
on West Coast Jazz.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that was, of course, Les Paul. And we were talking a little bit before the song about him, but another kind of tidbit, if you want to call it, is that he was a huge country star, singing star in the 50s with his wife, which I had no idea. And when he got married, his best man and maid of honor were the mom and dad of the artist Steve Miller.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
I know. I mean, now I bet he has a Les Paul. Steve Miller.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
I don't have a Steve Miller band LP, but I think my producer might.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So anyways, that was just kind of another little, tidbit about him that I had no idea.
Good.
So anyway, okay. Now, I know people are going to be excited about this. The next song we have is Eyes of the World by the Grateful Dead. And, I mean, the Grateful Dead have been huge since, like, the late 60s, early 70s. The Deadheads, they follow them literally all over the country. And they're just known for their live shows. So I thought that was interesting that this was on the list for jazz. How did you find this one?
Well, one of the things that we do on our show, as you know, is that there's a lot of crossovers in jazz.
Right.
I was talking to someone the other day that studied classical music. And I said, there's a genre called classical jazz. And a lot of great artists, I believe John Coltrane was one, that studied classical music and got ideas from it that transferred over into jazz. And then they brought those abilities that you get from studying classics. Right. And this one, Grateful Dead, was introduced to me by my producer as far as being a crossover from rock to jazz, and it's called jazz rock. Now, one of the earlier, milder jazz rock, in addition to Slash, was Ramsey Lewis, who did, if you remember, or maybe you don't,
yeah, I remember.
back into the 60s with I'm In With the In Crowd.
Oh, definitely.
And that's a rock song.
Right.
But he mostly played jazz. So a lot of his rock songs have jazz influence in them. So that's why I picked Grateful Dead. Not only did I know a lot of our audience will remember the Grateful Dead, but may want to listen to some of his earlier stuff. So with that, what's the song?
The song is Eyes of the World by the Grateful Dead on
West Coast Jazz.
All right.
Yes, we are.
All right, and that was, of course, the Grateful Dead with their song "Eyes of the World," and it, like you said, it had you could tell a little bit jazz influence in it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you were able to pull that out, but the beat, and I don't know what the timing was on that, but it's kind of got a jazz flavor to
Yes.
it, almost a little Latin with that. So
very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And we were talking about different people. You were talking about Slash and everybody, how they are into jazz. And also, I was listening to my Frank Sinatra station, in my car. And they had the Charlie Watts Quartet. Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones also had a quartet where he did like jazz and smooth songs. So yeah, we should do a show sometime on all these different artists. You know what I mean? Which like we're doing today.
Yeah.
Because actually the next song is from, I know people are just fanatic over the band Fish. And so I had no idea until you brought this up too about how they, did some jazz music. And this is the A Train by Fish. And like I said, they have a huge following. And they're, again, known for their live shows.
And I think A Train was not Glenn Miller. Duke Ellington, I think he either wrote that or made it famous. Mm-hmm. And it's a jazz classic.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Everybody's done it. But to have, again, the rock crossover with Fish.
I know, that's so exciting.
And plus we're featuring the guitars.
Right,
so,
exactly.
You
so
get it all in one.
Yeah, and I know people, of course, when they hear it, they're going to say, oh my gosh, yes, So here we are with Fish and the A Train.
On West Coast Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay, and that, of course, was Fish with the A Train. And if you notice, like in their music, they have a lot of reggae, funk, jazz, progressive rock. So they got a little bit of everything. So that was a great choice.
Yeah, and what I liked was the different instruments that they featured, and they also, going way back to Gerald Wilson, who features his artists and gives them solo time.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Fish does that as well with their instruments. So
Yeah, that was great.
Yep.
Good choice. Okay. Well, once again, this is West Coast Jazz, and we would love for you to go to our website, and that is jazzwithvaughn.com. And you can see all our past shows. You can ask us a question, and you can just see all kinds of other, tidbits about jazz. And if you want to be a guest, we would love to have you in our studio here in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
And you get a cup.
And you get a cup with your name on it, West Coast Jazz. And so we would love that. And we also would like to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsors. Without them, the show would, not be going as well. So we really, really, really appreciate our sponsors.
Well, it helps with our producing time. It allows us to get the cups for our guests and sponsors. And it gives us more opportunity to even advertise the show, getting signs made. And,
right.
Even though the studio at CCX, Brooklyn Park, is a nonprofit, so it affords us the ability to come in and produce our show that we that we present to our audience.
Definitely. And I know the audience loves it, and they're always waiting for another episode. But our sponsors are Patty Wendling, and we have Louis Wendling, right? And Robert Shershin and Janine Howe.
There you go.
So, anyways, we would like to really thank all of them, and we appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Jeanine.
Yeah, really.
And Bob.
Exactly.
We're going to be doing this show live in about a week. I believe it was 11 days.
Right.
And we'll be seeing those sponsors at our show.
Yes.
So here's a tribute to them.
Exactly. Yeah. We appreciate it. All right. Well, now our next artist that we are going to play is Joe Pass with Night and Day. And that was Joe Pass with Night and Day. And of course, you have a wonderful story. That's what I like about you. It seems like you have a story for everybody.
Hey, be
Right?
careful.
Oh, I know, you know.
I might have a story about you.
Uh-oh.
TMI? Is
Yeah,
what-
TMI.
Okay.
All right. Well, next we have Fandango by Al Di Meola. And he's another great artist that is more up to date, not from, back in the 40s or 50s. And I know he's best known for his jazz fusion and flamenco guitar playing.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else about him?
I never met him.
No.
I've been introduced by following him on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, with the flamenco and the jazz and
Right.
the guitar, it might be a cool mix for our audience. So
Yeah.
let's play him
All right. Al Di Meola with Fandango.
on West Coast Jazz.
Okay, well, that was Fandango by Al Di Meola. And boy, what a mix of, well, it was, of course, the flamenco guitar. And you can tell that right away.
Right away.
You know what that is. So, I mean, but he's like a virtuoso, really.
Yeah.
I mean, from the minute he starts, you can tell, you know. So that was, of course, his song, Not
Night and Day.
Fandango.
Fandango.
Yeah, Fandango.
Okay, who do we got next?
All right, and next up we have Paco de Lucia.
Okay.
And so he's another great kind of flamencoist guitar. And it's just really interesting because Eric Clapton said that he was one of the best guitar players ever from Eric Clapton. So
Yeah, in fact, we've got one here that we brought in. Clapton Unplugged, I believe.
Oh, really?
I believe this is Clapton's biggest seller,
Yeah.
Unplugged.
Oh,
And
probably, yeah.
everybody remembers him, but it's funny you brought that up in this fellow's story. So,
Yeah, that you had that here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really amazing. So, yeah, he said he's one of the best guitar players ever. So, here we are with Paco de Lucia and Enter Des Aguas
okay.
on West Coast Jazz.
Yes, we are.
and that was Paca de Lucia. And it was, yeah.
How about
Interesting.
that flamenco guitar?
Unbelievable, yeah. We were talking about just the style of it is so distinctive. So when anybody plays that kind of, guitar and riff, I mean, you can tell right away.
Well, and then I was talking to the producer during break about there's 4-string guitars,
Oh, right.
5, 6, 8, 12-string. It goes all over the board, and some of these are going to have videos. So when you watch the video, you'll be able to see what type of guitar it is.
Sure.
So
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, next we have, I know people, obviously will know this name, Chet Atkins. And now, of course, I know Chet Atkins from the country music scene. I met him once, but I was so young, I was just like, oh,
you
whatever.
got your own story.
Yeah, well, that was my story. I met him once and I was young and I was just like, oh, whatever. It's just so weird when I think of the people I met, like iconic people, and I was so young, it just kind of just went right over my head, But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, So I think that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, people may not know that he had so much jazz influence. So I think that's why this is interesting. And he was also Roy Orbison's guitar hero.
Oh.
Yeah, Roy Orbison loved him.
Roy is not a bad guitarist himself.
Right. So it'll be interesting. So this is Chet Atkins with Young Thing.
On West Coast Jazz.
Okay, and that, of course, was Chet Atkins with Young Thing.
Yeah, it was it was a boogie woogie.
Right.
Which is a slight offshoot from the blues.
Right.
And as they mentioned in the video, I believe you'll see that it was mostly started boogie woogie on a piano.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. So Chet's gonna, do this on the guitar, and we're also talking about both you and I have tried guitar in our earlier years.
Yeah.
Only to find out that it hurt our fingers. So
right.
You've got to really be a loyalist to the guitar and stick with it long enough to build up the calluses to where you oversee that part of it,
Sure.
so you can enjoy playing.
Right. And we were talking earlier too about Dolly. She's just known for playing with her fingernails. That's just what she does.
And
So
not a pick.
not a pick. Yeah, exactly. So now we have another one. I know this is one of your favorites is Wes Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
You love Wes Montgomery. And it's a song called Here's That Rainy Day Feeling Again, which everybody knows. And he actually won a Grammy for his version of Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. So that was, and people kind of were, not too fond of that because they said he was going commercial and everything else. But, I mean, Wes Montgomery, there's no denying he's one of the greats.
One of the big LPs that came out that I didn't get, even though I told my producer he should add it to his collection, it's Wes Montgomery and Jimmy Smith combined.
Right.
And I am going to feature, maybe now's a good time to talk about our next show.
Yeah.
Coming up, we'll be taping in a couple of weeks, and that'll be called Hobo Soup. And for the older generation, you know what hobo soup is, and the younger generation can look that up. And we'll be talking about it, but we're going to feature songs from every type of genre and artists that we weren't able to get in our show.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm going to be featuring Hobo Flats by Jimmy Smith, which gave me the idea for the title of the show,
Right.
of Hobo Soup.
Yeah.
So that'll be coming up real quick. And but anyway, this is Wes Montgomery. I remember I was working on my car. I believe it was 1979. And I was under the hood with the radio going and working on the carburetor, for those of you that
really
go back that far,
Yeah.
when we actually did our own maintenance.
right. Yeah, exactly.
And the radio announcer said that Wes Montgomery had just passed.
Oh,
And he was awfully, awfully young, in his 30s, I think, and a heart attack. And I don't know the circumstances behind that. I'll have to research that.
I'll look it up, yeah.
But Wes Montgomery, and even though double thumbing, a term, goes way back, Wes Montgomery made it popular.
Yeah, he used his thumb.
Right.
Right.
And instead of, picking like that, everything was done with his thumb.
Right.
And you can really tell when a Wes Montgomery song comes on, you know it's Wes right now. And that's what I love about artists who get claim to fame, is that you can tell whether they're a singer or a trumpet player.
Right.
I know Miles Davis from any other trumpet. I know John Coltrane from any other saxophone, and I know Wes Montgomery from any other guitar. But let's hear him. It was Here's That Rainy Day
Feeling Again. And I know, just the name of it brings the song into your mind. You know what I mean? That
Sure.
It's so popular. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Here is Wes Montgomery with Here's That Rainy Day Feeling Again.
on West Coast Jazz. Okay, well, that was Wes Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And doing some double thumbing there. You might have been able to hear him hit two strings at the same time. By the way, our show is called Strings Attached. I was going to have it strings unattached.
Right.
And I was going to get a picture of, when, like, especially the rock players, when they strum so hard, all of a sudden you'll see a string
Oh yeah, they break the
break
string,
off,
right? Yeah, right.
So, or a violin.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, he'll hit two. I'm not sure if he's done three strings at the same time with his thumb. I guess it all depends on what strings you have pushed down. And but anyway, a great sound.
Mm-hmm.
And you did look it up. He was in his mid 40s.
45, yeah, died of
45
a heart attack.
heart attack.
Yeah, that's so sad.
I know, it's so young. And they said he would have been a phenom, to use a kind of a
right
sports term,
Mm-hmm.
In jazz had he lived another 5-10 years.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Oh,
And now a lot of people copy that.
Uh-huh.
There's other artists that come out, and most of you will hear that in smooth jazz,
Right.
which we don't feature on this show, but
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And of course, you can always find us and our past shows on jazzwithvaughn.com.
yes.
And we appreciate everybody's sponsorship. We appreciate everybody watching. And we are definitely looking forward to our next show, which is
What was it?
Hobo Soup.
Oh, hobo soup. And I was thinking about something else, and that we didn't mention that our show is also available live on 7 stations in the southwest
Right.
area of the Twin Cities.
Oh, definitely.
So if you cannot find, let's say, this show on the internet, and you live in Richfield, Bloomington, Eden Prairie, Edina, Minnetonka, I think there's 2 more, you'll be able to find it on Channel 15
I know.
down in that area. It's almost every other night. It's on around 6, 7 o'clock.
I was
at
going to
night.
say they play it like 25 times a week.
Yes.
Literally,
Yeah, they just
so.
keep playing the
Right.
shows over. And all of our shows, there's over almost 20 of them that are featured on it, so you can tune in.
Right.
And then on the north side, where we are here in the Brooklyn Center area, there's another 6 or 7 stations up here. I know Plymouth, of course, Brooklyn Center.
Right. I think Maple Grove.
Maple Grove.
Right.
There's 6 or 7, and I believe that on Channel 23. But I believe it's also on our website.
Yes.
So if you go to our website, it'll show you the stations that it's on and what time it plays, and you can catch our shows there.
Yeah, and I'll even put a link on to the
Oh,
shows.
good.
To the stations that they're on, and then you can just click on the link, find our shows, and you can watch them. And how great is that?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, do we have a little King Pleasure to
We have King Pleasure. Yes, we do.
take us home?
Uh-huh. And thank you, everybody, and we will see you at our next show.
Yes, we will on West Coast Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So long. Goodbye, my darling. I know I was wrong when I thought that you could return the same love that I have, all for you, dear. But you still didn't care enough to ever try to love me. Why didn't you love me? Why didn't you ever love me? Maybe you'll understand the reasons why you're letting me go when, oh, I love you so.